Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for some more tag time. I've got some of the tags that we made in a session a little while back with distress sprays and oxide sprays, and I'm thinking I'd quite like to take a couple of these maybe on a stage or two. I've got some mop-up bits of card around. There are a couple of things. I really enjoyed working with glass pebbles the other day, so I've grabbed a little jar of those. There's a leftover die cut here. I'm thinking sort of stamping, so I've got a bunch of archival inks out, but first I need to decide which tags are going to make the cut. So I don't think I'm feeling full on brown today really, so we'll save those for another day. They're quite a nice trio actually together. That's calling out quite loudly. Look at the shimmer on these. I'd forgotten about that. So we used some distress spritz, I think, or maybe distress mica sprays. I'd forgotten there was all that gorgeous. Oh, see, that one maybe deserves all a go all of its own. So those two definitely go together because they've got that lovely shimmer going through the middle. Quite industrial those. That's interesting. Think about that for another day. That feels like a sort of a trio. That could be a trio if one could add a bit of rusty hinge or something to create that as a trio. Actually thinking that that's on a regular manila tag. There's these, oh hello, so these two are both on the same kind of paper. This is on some different card, that's why they have got a slightly different depth of color to them. That one's on white card, this is on off-white. So I think maybe we'll stick to this pair because they are a pair. They've got the same color tones, they're on the same kind of paper. But given how floppy that is, I'm going to back it onto some waste cardboard before I do anything else. Back in a sec. That is a win-win-win-win because not only are they now more sturdy and more durable, they're also flat, which is going to make stamping a lot easier, and they will be able to take the weight if I do decide, for instance, to go with a glass pebble. I've now got something which can hold up to that in the longer run. So what next? I feel like a little bit of, maybe some background stenciling before we do background stamping. I've got a couple of stencils I pulled out. Haven't really kind of fully decided on anything at this point. Let's face it. Why not? I do like this. I think it's known as Nordic. And it's quite a pleasing sort of a one. Not quite sure what colour I want. Maybe some frayed burlap, keep it fairly subtle. Let's see what that does. It is going over distress oxide spray, so anything I put over oxide is going to end up chalky. So even though this is a distress ink and should have translucence, look at the subtlety of that. I mean, it's magic. But it will, it will look different where it's going over blank paper, and it will look different where it's going over oxide, and it will look different if it's going over any shimmer anywhere. So you'll get from one stencil with one color, you'll still get a number of different effects. See, it's quite a different kettle of fish over the blue than it is over the white part there. I think we might want a little more of it. Going to come in from here and just add a little in this top corner, so they're now echoing each other, so it's coming in on the top corner over there as well. Really subtle, but just a little taster. We could give it a bit more presence by actually I might as well use the same sponge. Oh well, maybe we should be bolder. Maybe we'll go in with some rusty hinge, in which case I will change sponges. I'm going to try and line this up pretty much over the same. It's so subtle I can hardly see it. No, I can see it. I can see it. I'm gonna go rusty hinge just for fun, just because it's playtime. Not overthinking things. I think there's some other colour on that sponge that is not rusty. Oh, that's quite nice. Do we add a little bit here? That I can see to get over. No, maybe a little down here though. And then what I might do is just darken that up with some walnut stain, because as I say, I think there's been There's something else on that sponge that is not Rusty Hinge. I recognise that the colour is different. I've just given this a spritz and I was thinking of printing it somewhere, and for once I don't seem to have anything around on the table that I can print it onto. Oh look, there's some waste card that we were using in something the other day. Let's just pop it on there, just because one might as well. See, that's quite good, isn't it? Just by itself. That I can rip up and use as an accent. I could even stamp some words on it to maybe use on here later. It's all usable stuff. We'll wait and see what that might be. But as I say, at the moment, I want to give a little bit of extra depth and darkness over the top of these two. So let's line it up. Should be possible. Fairly straightforward. There it is. You sort of see it. It sort of locks into place. I don't know if you can see that happening. There's the off. You can, if you stencil just off, you'll get a shadow effect. But on a stencil, this kind of small detail, it'll probably just look like a mistake if that happens. Yeah, see, that's giving me more of a sort of rustiness as opposed to orange. It was just a bit too orange, and you know me and orange, it has to be a very specific rusty orange. Much better, much better. Let's do the same over here. So as I slide it around, you'll see that moment where I hit the right place on the stencil and it all suddenly just lines up, and there's my position. So over the top with a little bit of, this is walnut stain that is going on now. So what have we had so far? Frayed burlap, Rusty Hinge, and now walnut stain to give us, yeah, a little bit more at the top here. Not quite there yet. Where's the, there it is. Just over. Ah, come on. Yeah, I see it. Make sure there's ink on the sponge. I think that may have been the, the issue the last time. I didn't pick up enough ink onto the sponge to actually do the job I was planning to do. There we go. That's quite nice. It's just got a, I'm going to add some more depth up in this corner. So there's my diagonal. Somewhere there. Oops. Ah, come on. That's an upright. So when I'm talking about uprights and diagonals, I'm just talking about whether I'm looking for the upright cross or the diagonal flower that is just the one I'm aiming for to layer it up over there. There we go. And again, because that's the frayed burlap, that's quite subtle. I'm just going to come in from the edge again with the walnut stain to just give it a bit more presence. Good. And a little down here. So that's my upright. Just in position, and again just coming in from the edge to layer up that stenciling. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying all of that. It's nice. So what have we had? Walnut stain, Rusty Hinge-ish. Rusty Hinge-ish we had. Let's put the other out of the way. And now I was just thinking of, so this is just distress inks on here. As you can see, there's been paint in the past that hasn't come up. And as you saw, it doesn't affect the ability of the stencil to do anything. So this is probably going to be an off. Oh no, I seem to have lined it up rather perfectly. So again, I'm just using up the ink that is there, layering it over. And yeah, that's given us a little shadow effect in places. But I really like how that's giving us brown and orange and orange and brown. Good, let's have a look. Some stamping, I think, because that's what I was really in the mood for. The stenciling was just an additional bit of finessing. I think maybe something like the Professor is going to be good today. I think maybe these big numbers here, maybe that's what I'm in the mood for. Something big and bold and kind of really present, but we'll stamp it in something relatively subtle. So I'm thinking maybe the watering can Archival, and I think we'll go for down here. Maybe, yeah, okay, so here it's going to go sideways. Up here. Good firm stamping. Oh, that's good. Oof, that's good. And the one down here, for the sake of repetition and variation, is going to go sideways. Well, strictly that one's sideways, this one's straight on. Already happy, already happy. Sometimes there's something, this is the magic of stamping. There's something about these images, these vintage details. I'm going to go in with Sepia for this one because I think it's going to tone in quite nicely with those rusty stencil parts. And I think we might go up here with this. Yeah, that's quite fun. And as a result, repetition and variation, I think we might go across the top. Which way up is this? July, Tuesday, July. Great. Let's go across there, see what that gives us. Yeah, nice. That's given us a real, did you feel how that suddenly made the tag smaller? Really interesting. Just sort of everything in, because we've got those closing in on the corners. What else? What else? Might need to grab out one of the sets that has little labels and numbers. Stamp here. I'm quite tempted to use stamp here. I'm quite tempted to, yeah, use a little bit of this. And this I might do again, just in something quite subtle. So it's going to be tone in tone with Beach Cruiser. So 2 ways to apply ink to your stamps. Dab, 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 as I've been doing, will get you a really strong image. If you just gently rub over, so you can see that's a circular movement, that should give me something even more subtle. I'm going to just take that. Maybe I don't want the whole of it. Maybe I just want a little touch of detail coming through the middle. Haha, so subtle. Let's try it down here. Yeah, it is there. I could go over with some embossing powder to just bring it to the fore, but I think for now I'm kind of inclined. So let me go tab, dab, dab, because it's so subtle, because it's going turquoise over turquoise. It just really did vanish entirely. That's more like it. That's a great layer. I'm gonna put some down there with a bit more oomph. Yeah, so it was a dab, 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 but that's, you know, that's another tip for using another time if you want a more subtle stamping, to apply the ink with that rotating swipe as opposed to a dab, dab, dab will get you an altogether gentler version of your stamped image. I'm enjoying those exactly as they are. I'm going to bring them up to the camera in a second so that you can see what that text is doing, just hovering almost subliminally, but adding a little bit more tasty detail. Good, enjoying that. Going to give that a quick little wipe. Doesn't really matter. The ink is not going to hurt it, but it does make the storage a little bit mucky. I like these already a lot. I'm just going to toss a couple of these on to see. The blue shows up really nicely, doesn't it? There's something pretty tasty about that. I've also got, as I said, bits of other stuff lying around. There's this nesty die cut that is actually from a project that you'll see later. I think at this point I'm filming to get ahead again because I'm going to be away at the end of the month. So I'm playing ahead of time again, and I don't know quite what order these are going to come at you in. So you may be seeing the leftovers before you're seeing the project they come from. I'm quite curious about that. It may not stay the course. It may get hurled out, but at the moment I'm quite enjoying the presence of that. Does it maybe have a little blue thing to go with it? I pulled out these metal embellishments, got those very cheaply at some point eons ago, and they've just been continuing to sit around. Oh, see, that's quite good as well, isn't it? Okay, these are so skinny metal wise that it's usually possible. I might not do it with my good scissors. Might do it with some some cheaper scissors picked up in one of the cheap stores here. But I mean, they do the job. I just don't want to wreck the blades of the others. So I'm just wondering about layering that. Quite enjoying that circularity. Echoing the nest. And it's bringing the eye inwards. That's quite pleasurable. I've got some bits of bark here coming apart. Maybe that's worth going across with as well, or down below. So this is turning into a sort of, I suppose, a form of abstract. Gonna try a bit of that there. There's something kind of enticing about this. Yeah. So it's going to need something. I don't know what yet. Don't know what the major thing that it needs is. Maybe it's a transparent moth. Maybe it's a paper doll. Maybe it's yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go and have a rummage, and I'll be back with some options and we can take a look at them together. And you can all shout at the screen, no, not that one. Back in a sec. Right, got a few things I think we're going to be able to dismiss quite quickly. I've got some others that might be worthy of our consideration. As I've come back to look at this, I'm thinking I'd sort of like a little bit of, a bit more rustiness on this metal piece. Now that can be done in a number of ways. So alcohol ink is a good option, particularly if you're working with metal. I've got some sort of rusty pastes and things like that. I think we should start with alcohol ink because that's often the simplest way, and I think rusty is probably the colour we're after. So it was literally as I arrived back and looked at that, it just said to me, this needs to be rustier. And it's that kind of listening in that is how my journeys unfold. I didn't know that when I went away from the tags. I knew it when I came back to them. So I'm off to find some alcohol ink and I'll be back. I mean, well, hang on. Another option is just to use some Archival ink. That might just burnish it sufficiently to give me, a slightly rustier look. Let's put some on the rest of that. And I'll go off and find the alcohol ink, and then I come back and look at this again. It'll maybe be enough. It has given it a rustier look. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll save alcohol ink for another day. Maybe we'll just go with this. Ooh, and I tell you what would be good would be to put some embossing powder on. I've got some somewhere that is a sort of rusty textured one, and the ink would hold that and give us something a little bit more interesting, a little bit more altered and individual. Right, I'm going on the embossing powder hunt. Grand, I didn't have to hunt very far. This is what I was thinking of. I think this is a Ranger embossing powder called Antiquities Rust, and I'm just going to see what that'll give me over... tap it down over these metal pieces. I'm going to use a little bit of it's this same piece of waste card to just revamp or refresh the ink on this, because that's also going to, as you can see, work as a stencil in the meantime. So putting the ink on, and then on a separate piece of paper, let's sprinkle our powder. Pick up with some tweezers, just makes it easier to get hold of it. I think that's going to be pretty cool. You back in here. Look at that cute little fan. Shall I do the rest of the circle? It's going to be slightly different because it's going to be going over some already inked one, but it's gonna be quite a nice effect, I think, because it will be slightly darker where it goes over. Softening that one. In fact, I like that effect quite a lot. I'm gonna, yeah, there we are. There we are. Complete byproduct of what I was actually busy doing, which is to rust up this a little bit. So it's just another simple way of creating rust. To be fair, I don't know for certain whether Ranger is still producing this rusty powder. I'm just knocking off the excess, and I should have done that on the paper rather than on the mat. Gonna need to clear that up in a minute. But it's all worth it for the experimentation. Lid. Before I knock it over, the lid. Whenever I've got embossing powders over, it's keeping track of lids is kind of the most important part of the game. Let's pop you up here. So yeah, and see, now I've knocked off all that powder. I wonder if I can pick up what's on the mat here. Kill two birds with one stone. That's why you pick them up with the tweezers. Yeah, I'm going to have to go back in with a little bit of ink around the edge there. Clean off that. That's an old sponge anyway. Let's get a little more powder on it. Where's my tweezers? Back over here. And this time I will operate only with tweezers. Great. Tap off the excess before I put it down this time. Put the powder away. Shouldn't be this difficult. I've managed that all very poorly. Right, now I'm going to heat emboss these, so just point the tool at them and dry them, clear up this powder, and I'll be back. That is a scrumptious and very simple rusty technique. It's given me even that little bit of gleam that rust sometimes has. Metal, when you emboss it, remember, is going to stay very hot for quite some time, so tweezers again are useful, or just leave it for a while. But if you're impatient like me, you'll want to get on with things. And yeah, it's just given it a rusty deliciousness that is the kind of thing I think I was after. I'm wondering, well, let's try some stuff. Let's eliminate as we go and see. But I'm starting to think that maybe this is now as simple as adding some words. So I've pulled out quote chips. I've got some Halloween quote chips as well. And I've got these panels. So I'm thinking we might just be reverting to those, or maybe even a metal word stick. Haven't used one of those for ages. But there are some things that I think it's worth having a look at as part of this mix here. One is a moth, transparent moth. It's not that one, if it is one of these. It's maybe a slightly smaller one. That's the sort of same scale, but a lot subtler. That's quite fun, but I'm not quite sure where it goes, because I now don't want to cover up this lovely echoing circle. So it would have to go the other side of things. Maybe it's a half. Ooh, so we'll keep you out. That's possible. It might be another moth murder video. Do seem to like murdering the moths. Or it could be, oh, he's good too, because it's echoing that rusty colour. There's something quite nice about that. So you'd be there, and you'd be where? Here. And your wing is, oh no, you do fit. Don't want to cover up those words too much. Yeah, so this side, not quite working. This side working. Well, maybe it's half of you and half of you. Maybe that's more interesting. And then I'll have two other halves to work with another day. Okay, so having said we were going to reject all this, that's a really good option. What else did I pull out? I pulled out, just in case we want to see them, the Photobooth snapshots. These are the large Photomatique. No, that's covering up way too much. This is the small scale, normal Photobooth size. That's... I don't hate it, but I don't love it in the way that I love the moth. Maybe it's that and the moth being transparent. He can go over the top. I do quite like this chap. But again, I feel like it's covering up, maybe if I trimmed it properly. We don't have all this excess card around the outside. So sometimes I'm in a less is more kind of mood. Sometimes I'm in a more is more kind of mood. Let's see what happens if we sort of tuck him so that he's not disturbing what's going on there. He'd be better this side because that's where the blank part of the photo is. So all these things make a difference. Position and positioning. Oh, that's going to be a reference not everybody gets. Anybody who's seen the glorious film The Slipper and the Rose, with music by the same people who wrote the music for Mary Poppins and The Jungle Book. It's a musical version of Cinderella made in the 70s with the amazing Richard Chamberlain and Gemma Craven and all kinds of incredible British actors, Edith Evans, Michael Hordern. As I'm saying this, I'm starting to think maybe I've mentioned it before. It's a brilliant, brilliant film. Glorious, glorious songs. I saw it in the cinema when I was, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old. And it's been a magical part of my life ever since. So, as is usual, I'm looking for a sort of similar colour tone. His photo is quite pale, but also with quite a warm white to it. That's a bit too pinky. That's a bit too pinky. She's got a sort of sepia thing going on. Too pink. Oh, hello. You might be good. Again, the empty bit of the photo is up here, which is a bit annoying, unless she sort of goes under the moth wing. She's not impossible. She's pretty close, as these things go. Interesting, they both have the gap at the top left. Maybe that means they're meant for each other. Somehow this tag isn't looking romantic to me, though. It's kind of full of hard work and numbers and concentration and focus, and I do love her, but I don't think she sort of fits with the background stamping. She's younger and fresher than that. You're looking good, Missy over here. It's looking like it might be you. He's got quite a good sepia tone to him, and he's also positioned better in terms of what's going to get covered up. But maybe a bit too... Well, I'll keep you out just in case. Just in case. Oh, hello. How did you get in there? You're from something else. You're definitely from a different pack. Ah, la la. How does he compare in terms of... Because he'd be in the right sort of position. Let's keep him and audition him. More auditioning to be done. Yeah, I think those are ones I already went through and then tucked to the back instead of putting aside. Okay. I'm still not sure I want it at all. Although the more I leave him there, the better he's looking to me. Let's see what happens if we tuck her under here. See, it's quite sad how much of her is disappearing. Having said I don't know that I want her at all. I don't want her to disappear. If we go over the top like so. So there was a long pause while I was just looking at the previous two. So hopefully, if I've remembered to, I've trimmed that down. I'm thinking that's quite good. Let's trim her like we trimmed him. And I think it is that paler background that is working for me on this tag. It just lifts to a sort of highlight, echoing the colours of the nest actually as well. That's interesting, the garland. She's still not positioned right on the photo. If she was sitting over there, that would be much better. If we move that up, does that help us? That is spoiling our circle affair. The other thing that's slightly bothering me at the moment, of course, is that they are both almost in exactly the same relative position to one another. There's not enough variation in their positioning. Oh, that's better with that moved. That helps. Does it maybe help if we do the same up here? I think I might be going to go with this. I think I'm going to chop some moths. Sorry, moth. So that we can see properly what the effect of that is. And chop this guy here. Sorry, moth. Let him be there. Let's pop those back in the pack, because obviously those will live to fight another day as half moths. Pop you away, because I think we're done with you. Definitely didn't need you. I'm going to take the photos out again and have another look. And while I fiddle around, I'm not going to make you watch the fiddling back when I've made some decisions. And it's been all changed since you were here. The photos are out. Sorry, photos. It was close, but it didn't quite work out, because as soon as I found these two, I realised that's what I want to have happen. I want these words. I'm going to edge them with a bit more of the sepia, or maybe coffee. We'll see. I don't seem to be very decisive today, do I? Just to, yeah, give them that glow, a rusty glow. We'll do a bit of edging around the outside of the tag, I think, as well. But I just wanted you to see that moment of decision. It maybe wants swapping. Be true. Original. Original, be true. That other way. It was right the first time. Original and be true. So I'm going to glue some stuff down. I'm just wondering about whether, rather than having this completely blue, I want to glue it onto a bit of book page to give it a bit more variation on there. Oh, look. Got some music paper happily hanging around. How does that look if that's just got a bit more detailing on it? I think that might be quite nice. Blue music notes, blue words. I think I might need some words. Gonna grab a book page and glue these down. Almost all white acrylic glues that I've met dry clear, so you can use those to glue these down. But if you've got a clear one, like something like Glossy Accents, then you might as well use that, because it's going to give you the look you're going to get straight away, instead of having to wait for it to dry to get your look at the words beneath. That's good. And one more. It's just giving these glass baubles a little bit extra. They can simply reveal what's behind, but obviously that works better if you use a clear bauble, and I don't think it is the clear bauble for these. I think it is these rather splendid blue ones. Again, these are things you very find in floristry departments, in decor shops, even in supermarkets sometimes. People put them in vases to hold flower stems. I use them for crafting. So I'm going to give those just a little bit of time to, well, actually no, Glossy Accents is amazing. They're already ready for trimming. So simple as cutting around you go. I'm kind of leaning the blades of the scissors inwards so that I don't end up with paper sticking out at the sides. Trim, trim, trim. All good. And yeah, hopefully you can see if it'll focus. I've just got those extra little words going on. You'll see it in any case at the close-ups at the end, obviously. So again, I'm probably going to leave you while I do some gentle gluing of these elements. For all of it, I think I'm probably going to be using the Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue. Any acrylic glue will do. And I'll be back for some final thoughts in case I add anything while I'm doing that. Back in a sec. Right, for the most part, we are glued down. So all that toing and froing and chopping and changing and indecision is part of the process. And I think that's one of the things, or at least it is for me. I almost never know what it is that is going to be there by the end or how it's going to happen. It's being in that flow and looking and listening and watching for how things are going. I came back before I detached the final thing, which are these moths, because rather than glue, I'm going to go with the little staple there, which allows his wing to just flip up, as you see. If I wanted to, I could do a little bit of shaping with the heat tool to make it stick up even more. We've done that in a past video, and I can link to that if that's something you'd like to see. But I think for these, I don't want them too curly, because one of the things is if you curl it up, it's going to go less far across the tag. And at the moment, particularly with him, I need him doing that, spreading across the tag. So yeah, as I was saying, these moments of indecision, these moments of looking and listening, they seem to me to be a sort of fundamental part of the creative process. And I think that's why I'm sort of keen to capture them. I don't want to give you pre-planned and pre-prepped projects, that know exactly where they're going, and I'm kind of saying to you, this is how you do it. It as far as I'm concerned, that's not how you do it. You go on journeys and you go exploring, and things, unexpected things like that rusty powder, turn up as ideas. I look at a gold metal disc and I think, I don't want gold, I want rust. Or I spend time trimming and positioning very carefully photos of fabulous people whose stories will get told one day on a tag here, but it wasn't today. These just wanted to have that almost abstract feel to them, making the most of the objects that are there, these beautiful blue things. So again, that idea to glue those down to something to give them a bit more detailing just comes from looking at what's happening and sort of the urge, the impulse, and following that impulse. So out of that creative flow comes a little bit of philosophical musing about the creative process today. You know what I want now. You know it's going to happen. I've got my Snowflake paint here. This one is really almost empty. So as I mentioned the other day, or I may be going to mention in a future video that you haven't seen yet, as it's almost empty, I'm just going to dip straight in there with my spatter brush, get a little bit of water from the jar to just, oops, that's quite a lot of water from the jar. So let's take it over there. Let's test what we're getting. Yeah. And particularly with this, I want to hit that bark. I want to hit that glass bauble. I want to, yeah, hit a little bit of moth. And I just want that, those spots of light. That's sort of what the job of the spatter is, the movement of light across the elements. And it also means that in places like here, where it was just a little bit sort of dull, there was sort of grey splotch, I've now got something lighting it up and creating a bit more interest. Going to go over that rustiness, going to go over the bark. I think that's probably about it. I think that's probably good. A little bit of twine for these, maybe white twine, to just pick up the echo of that spatter. And I'll be diving in for a close-up. Thank you so much, as always, for your company today. I will be putting as much detail as I can remember down in the description. So if you want to check on what we've been using today, that should all be there. And if you have enjoyed this, do give me a thumbs up. Did I already say that? Maybe I did. And if you haven't subscribed, it would be grand to have your company on this creative journey. If you know of anybody you think might enjoy what's going on here on the channel, Do spread the word, and I look forward to your company again. In the meantime, happy crafting all.